The race to fill the open seat for Indiana State Senate District 15 is at full throttle. 4 Republican candidates and 1 Democrat hope to win their primaries and go on to the general election.
And we will talk with all of the candidates live this week right here on First News. They are unscripted and the questions are not known to the candidates in advance. News Channel 15's Rod Hissong is live in Studio 15 to kick things off with Republican Darren Vogt.
Hey there, good morning, Pat and Tara. Good morning, everyone. Now, the primary a little bit more than a week away. A lot of candidates to get through and a lot of questions to ask. As mentioned, Darren Vogt here with us this morning. Thanks for getting up early on a Monday morning. So, campaign's been going good, as we were talking a little earlier off camera. You've met a lot of people. What are the potential voters and potential constituents telling you right now on the campaign trail?
You know, as I'm out there, they're talking a lot about a lot of different things. The main thing I'm hearing about education and jobs. Those are the 2 things that have really sparked most people's interest. Education is the biggest thing going, with Common Core being talked about, and school funding formula for vouchers and those kind of things. That's what's really on most people's mind.
Yeah, let's talk about the funding formula, because in Fort Wayne, by population of students, it's the largest district in the state. But when you compare it to Indianapolis, who's got about 10 more buildings, but a smaller number of students by just maybe a couple of hundred, the funding disparity is hundreds of millions of dollars. If elected, what's something you would look at to try and maybe not necessarily give Fort Wayne more money, but perhaps Indianapolis has too much money?
Well, I think that's one of the things that's critical, is we need to make sure our school funding formula is equitable. I've been talking about that since the beginning, and I've been working with local superintendents to talk through that, and how do we make sure that we're meeting the needs of the school corporations, because each school corporation is definitely unique. You look at ours here, you know, Northwest, Southwest, Northeast, and then Fort Wayne. They're all different communities, but we got to make sure that we're making sure that formula, when you talk about vouchers or the formula itself, there's got to be a base level that we've got to work from and then figure it out from there, so no school is advantaged or disadvantaged financially.
You talk about Common Core. That's essentially been eliminated, new set of standards. When the federal government got real heavy into education policies, a lot of states said, hey, get out of our education, get out of our classrooms. Now you kind of hear a lot of local communities saying the same thing to their state legislators. What's your thoughts on Indianapolis having maybe too much involvement in the classroom?
Well, I'll tell you this. If I move from Fort Wayne to Evansville or Terre Haute or anywhere within the state, there should be some set of standard that my kid who's in 3rd grade or 1st grade or 7th grade, I should have some certain expectations of what they're supposed to meet from an education standpoint. But I'd rather see us have a more focus on the local education system. We can't have our teachers teaching for tests. Our teachers need to be able to teach and educate our youth and make sure they're doing that. So I think we ought to make sure we set some standards on the state level, but then make sure our locals make sure they have the highest standards that they want to have, and make sure we're making them successful.
Let's talk about jobs a little bit. You mentioned that's some things you've been hearing. You know, job growth's been pretty good in the state the last couple of years, year and a half. It's really picked up a little bit. As someone who sat on county council, you've had a hand in tax abatements. What's the line between giving too much of a tax incentive to businesses, creating jobs, but making sure the jobs that are being created are actually good, high-paying jobs?
Well, one of the things that we did is we created what was called a super tax phase-in, because we realized that, you know, there are certain jobs that you want to have a higher incentive for. So what we did is I spearheaded a committee that said, we're going to look at, if you're going to pay higher than the average wage in Allen County by 10%, we're going to incentivize you. Because it takes all types of jobs, whether it's high-paying or entry-level jobs, to run our economic development. And so we worked through that and made sure we had an incentive package for both of those. The average job that comes in, because people who are here working need to be incentivized, or businesses who are here need to be incentivized to grow as well. So we've kind of balanced both of those, coming in and existing.
Should there be a penalty for companies that don't hold up their end to tax incentives?
Well, you know, the good thing that we do is we make sure we monitor that. We make sure that we have certain levels of threshold that they're meeting. You know, some companies invested in 2007 and 2008, and what happened in 2008, they thought they were going to grow their company, and the economy shrank and contracted. So all of a sudden, what they thought was going to be a good business investment, they weren't able to live up to that. So we've got to make sure we have that balance of, yes, there's accountability on the part of the business, and yet there's also the reality of sometimes the economy changes on you like that, and we got to make sure we're looking at those things too.
If you get through this election and obviously the general election in November, an issue that's likely to crop back up in Indianapolis is the constitutional amendment to ban same-sex marriage. Is that something you support?
Yeah, marriage to me is between a man and a woman. It always has been.
What about when the second sentence that was omitted? Is that something you wanted to see in, or was okay with it coming out?
I'm okay with it in.
You okay with it in? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's switch gears on that then a little bit and go more into taxes. We talked a little bit about incentives for businesses, and the the personal property income or business tax that would essentially allow counties to really compete against one another. Again, someone who's had a heavy hand in development in Allen County. Do you think it's smart for Allen County to be competing with surrounding counties?
I don't think it is. I think that was a mistake on the state's part. It should have been either in or out. I understand their dilemma. They want to give local control, and I'm all about home rule and local control. But as I sit on those boards in economic development, we work regionally together. So we've got to make sure we do it on a statewide basis and not individually, especially when there's different incentives that are out there that are already tied to it infrastructure-wise.
Real quick, about 15 seconds. First thing you would do if you got down to Indianapolis?
Protect the local taxpayer.
All right, Darren Vogt, running for Senate 15 District. Thanks for joining us this
Appreciate
morning. Pat and Tara, back over to you.
All right, thanks for that, Rod. We look forward to those interviews continuing throughout this week. We look forward to those again tomorrow. Nice job.